Get started. Yes, namaste. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, Shared Roots, Shared Mission, the VHPA and HUA Journey. It is my pleasure to be hosting. I'm Ankur Patel, Director of Outreach, hosting from Los Angeles. We got Sri Kalyan Viswanathan, President of Hindu University of America, joining from Dallas, Jay Bunselji, Dr. Bansal from New Jersey, VHPA. Going to give you all a little quick introduction after I frame it a little bit. And then Abhinavji from Orlando, glad to have you with us today. So what we're going to do in today's webinar is we're going to talk about Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, VHPA, and Hindu University of America as two different organizations that have a shared mission, really to serve and strengthen the Hindu community in the United States and broadly, right? The idea of HUA was formulated within the VHPA circles in 1985, and over the years, HUA has emerged as a leading dharmic institution that preserves, advances, and teaches the knowledge systems of Sanatana Dharma through academic study and research. Today, HUA offers graduate and certificate programs that connect Hindu philosophy with contemporary life, helping the diaspora engage with its heritage intellectually and spiritually. For over 5 decades, VHPA has advanced the same vision through Bal Vihars, youth camps, the Shardar Scholarship, Stop Hindu Desha, which our Dr. Jay Bansalji has been very in leading actually, the Hindu Heritage Month, another one that VHPA has really led the way on. And of course, the Hindu Mandir Empowerment Council. It's an incubator of emerging Hindu leaders, ideas, and organizations. So it's a pleasure to be hosting today. Of course, we have Sri Kalyan Viswanathan. He's currently the president of HUA. He holds his master's degree in computer science, but it was his association with Pujya Swami Dhanand the Saraswati of the Arsha Vidya Gurukulam of 21 years that put him on this path. But we're going to get deeper into it than we usually do because we're going to trace this history back a little bit. And to help us do that is we have Sri Abhinav Dwivedi. He is one of the visionary founders of HUA, established in 1989. His signature is on those founding documents, one of four. He himself has a background in high technology and has 3 decades of leadership experience. And he's been instrumental in shaping HUA's mission and preserving it. And you continue to inspire us today, and we're going to hear some of the stories and how that vision back then connects to what's going on now and how we're going to take it forward together. And of course, we have Dr. Jay Bansal. JG is a retired scientist. It is our great benefit that he has retired from his career where he was an expertise in energy efficiency technologies. He retired in 2014 as the chief scientific officer and global technology advisor from Infinium. Anyway, he's got a long history there, but it's because of his work in the Hindu sphere, and I know him from a lot of different initiatives, including that Stop Hindu Desha and different conferences. And it's been amazing for me since joining HUA in 2019, where maybe I'll then pivot to you all, and then you can share us the longer timeline. Right, when I joined in 2019, Kalyanji had his due diligence document. He's going around, should we save HUA? Is it worth saving? What's in it? And tracking the history and talking to the people and getting involved. It's been amazing for me to be a part of this journey. And I'm glad to, give it to you to trace back this journey and how it all connects and where we all fit into it. So with that, let me just open it up and see how we want to lead off. Kalyanji, maybe you can start with some framing, and
Okay.
then we'll.
All right. Namaste, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Obviously, I'd like to begin with Abhinavji. Abhinavji, you have been associated with this university for the longest time from the very beginning. So, I'd like to invite you to share a little bit from your experience, from the early days of its founding, how you got involved, and then we'll take a look at some of the key milestones along the way. So please, over to you.
This webinar brings in so much memory into my mind because of my continuous associations right from the early days before even the university was incorporated. From that day to the modern times, modern years, and so on. So many memories, so many ups and downs, and so on. It started with a vision by one Swami Tilak. Swami Tilak was sent by his guru to South America to spread Sanatan Dharma. And as Hindus started coming to America, as a student mostly, as a student and doctors and so on, he started visiting America just to meet people. And he kept on doing every few years. And at that time, Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America was the only Hindu organization which has a nationwide reach, started by late Dr. Mahesh Mehta and few other people at that time. So naturally, he would come in contact with Dr. Mahesh Mehta and he shared his ideas. And over a period of time, he mentioned that all those who have come from India, they have not just come for studies, they're going to settle here. They'll raise your family, they'll have generations. And so we need to think about what will happen to those people who grow up here, generation after generation. We need to think about what kind of institution we should build so that they can carry on the Hindu Dharma. And few ideas he had was, one, he said, you must build an educational institution, or at least several education institutions, whether they are schools or colleges or universities. And he said also you should have media, because media is going to be playing very important role, whether it's in some kind of a radio station, TV station, newspapers, whatever it is. And things like that he would keep talking. So these ideas were taken up by Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and they were deliberated in governing council, which was the national level annual meeting. And after several such deliberations, that idea was taken up that we must have some kind of university where formal education will be imparted to our own people, and also people who want to come and learn about Hindu university or Hindu Dharma from other religions, other cultures. So I think in 1985 or so, a resolution was passed by the governing council that we should have a university, whatever name it could be, and will be a part of Vishwa Hindu Parishad, but sort of independently organized. So it can run its own, it can have its own management and so on. That's how the roots were planted in 1985 governing council resolution. After that, it took some time to deliberate what kind of things should be done, who should be involved. Because for a while, a few people were interested in getting involved, but not ready to take leadership. So come 88 time frame, one Dr. Dindayal Khandelwal in Orlando, Florida, myself and Dr. Mahesh Mehtaji and Ram Prakash Agarwalji got together and said, let's incorporate properly, and then we'll see how it grows. So it was incorporated in 1989, and just 4 of us, and none of us had any background in Hindu philosophy or Hindu religion in a formal way. Obviously, we all grew up in Hindu families, but other than that, we didn't have any idea. But we started it, and myself and Dr. Khandelwalji, being in Orlando, started working more closely together to see what kind of things can be done, what kind of courses should be developed, what kind of procedures are required, what kind of approvals are required. And we found that to start a university, you must have an approval from Department of Education of Florida. So we corresponded with them, and we found out that to really start an undergraduate course, you have to have multi-million-dollar deposit at that time. Obviously, need to have a single pie available at that time. But they suggested that if you incorporate as a religious university and start with a graduate level program, then you don't have to deposit anything. So we opted for that particular route, started with a graduate level program or graduate level studies, and as a religious university. So we were free from some of the normal conditions which Department of Education imposes on other universities. And it took us almost another 4 years to develop catalogs and develop some few faculty who are volunteers. And basically, we got the approval from Department of Education to conduct as a university in 1993. So it took almost 4 years, a lot of grunt work, because all of us were working full-time, having our full-time job and raising families and so on. So it was more like a part-time job. And the first official teaching learning session was held in Vijayadashmi Day, 1993, in Orlando, Florida, in local temple. That's how it started. As it have it, at that time, both myself and Dr. Khandelwal lost their job. So we decided to devote more time, because we had more free time available, and started growing. And first few years, basically we were trying to contact various knowledgeable people, faculties and so on, see what kind of courses we should develop, what kind of material we need, what kind of books do we need, how do we develop curriculum courses, and how do we offer it. So it took a few years to really gather at least a dozen volunteer faculty members who were willing to teach just out of love for Hinduism, that we will teach yoga, or we will teach Hindu philosophy, or Upanishad, music, and so on, many courses. And they were developing courses on sideline to meet our requirement for graduate level courses. And that continued for several years. Meanwhile, we will continue to offer weekend seminars and lecture series and so on for local people, just to get things going, and also to publicize the name of Hindu University. Come 2001, Dr. Brahm Agarwal joined in a formal capacity as a major donor to Hindu University. Till then, we didn't have a place. Things were running from our own offices. Maybe we had a once in a while rental place or a hotel room somebody would give us for a while. So we would operate out of those things. But then Brahmaji came and said, yes, let us have a systematic, a proper campus for the university. And he offered donation to buy a campus of 12 acres in Orlando, Florida. That's how it got a first formal office. And then obviously things started happening much rapidly. The first formal president was appointed, other than myself and Khandelwalji, who were working as a team. Dr. Bhudev Sharma, who was a professor of mathematics, and he taught in US for many years. And also, he was the founder of an organization called WAVES, World Association of Vedic Studies. And he was running conferences for that, both in India and here. And he agreed to join. And that's how the formal first president was appointed to Hindu University. He remained in the president position for about a year. And then another gentleman who was supportive of Hindu University from the beginning, as a volunteer, is Dr. K.C. Gupta. He was a professor of electrical engineering in Colorado. He decided to resign from his position and take significant cut in his salary and join as a president. He moved with his family to Florida and continued to be there through 2006. Then he decided to resign because he wanted to pursue his own personal sadhana in his personal life. And then we had another president, another retired professor of mathematics, Dr. T.R.N. Rao, who joined in 2007. And after that, the university was handed over to one Swami Nityanandaji. We found that he was very much interested in promoting, and he had a lot of resources. So the university was handed over to him. All the board members resigned, but I continued under him as a vice president. After that, he also returned back the university to old board of Hindu University. And then Dr. H.R.N. Nagendra took over as a president. And after another year or so, Dr. Raghuramji took over. And then later on, Dr. Yashwant Pathak and Dr. Shekhar Patel joined. And then later on, when things were not going so well, Brahmji, in one of his trips to India, approached RSS and met Soniji, Suresh Soniji, and expressed a desire that RSS should take over this university, maybe provide some qualified people who can run and make it grow. And I think that word somehow reached back to USA. And Dr. Vedananda got involved and few other people, Manohar Shindeji got involved. And that's how the current team and Dr. Kalyan Vishwanathan came into picture. So this is a very short history of how the things have moved over a period of 30 years. So let me stop here, and then maybe Kalyanji can ask some probing question, and I can fill in more details.
Yeah, surely. By the way, I'm not Dr. Kalyan Vishwan, not yet. Okay.
Nor am I. So I think my name was written as Dr. Abhinav Dwivedi, but I'm not doctor. I'm not PhD or medical doctor. I'm just a computer engineer.
Right. So now, Abhinavji, I'm going to ask you one question, which is, one of the things that comes up for constant debate in our board, our current board, the Board of Trustees of Hindu University of America, the creation of the university as a religious university operating under Florida's Department of Education's Commission for Independent Education's religious exemption statute. Okay. This is a very important defining characteristic of this university.
Yes.
And this religious exemption statute from the Department of Education gives us some it affords us some freedom, but it also constrains the space in which we can operate. In fact, I can tell you, we've had some pretty extensive engagement with the Department of Education this year.
Oh.
Yeah. And, we got a letter from them saying you're in violation of our religious exemption statute, and you had to provide us a justification. And after intense engagement with them, writing letters back and forth, and then having actual conversations with them, we managed to retain the religious exemption provision that was given to us once again, okay, by the Department of Education. But this year was a difficult year. It was not like other years, okay, even in my time. But the question I want to ask you is, I know you briefly referenced that, the decision, the choice to register HUA as a religious university under this statute in the Department of Education's Commission for Independent Education, you mentioned it was sort of done because it came with a lesser expectation for an initial financial deposit. Okay. Now, my question to you is, was that the only consideration, or was there a more thoughtful, was it a more thoughtful decision back in 1989, 1993, that period, when you registered it under the religious exemption? Can you kindly enlighten us on this?
Yes. One of the, at that time, the criteria was, if you want to have a non-religious or regular university, you have to show substantial proof that you have enough financial resources, enough money in the bank.
Yeah.
And at that time, if I recall, the number was around $5 million.
Yeah.
Now, that was way out of the question because we didn't have as I said, not even $1 in our bank account. So that was one of the considerations. Second was, in those days, there was a lot of incidences of having falsely various religious organizations and gurus were targeted for brainwashing non-Hindu or Christian children and young people.
Really?
So the consideration was that if you have a graduate program, naturally people are going to be a little bit more mature and they will not be sort of brainwashed, or at least nobody can accuse that you are brainwashing them. Because when you have an undergraduate program, that becomes because you are having 18, 19, 20-year-old coming, and it's very easy to allegation can be put on you that, oh, you are brainwashing them with all this yoga and other things. Even at that time, the churches were very strong opposing yoga programs in America, various kind of yoga things going on. Even the Pope had issued decree at that time that yoga should not be taught to Christians, and Christians should not learn it, and churches should not teach it, and all that. So all those were the background information that, look, to stay away from any kind of a problem, let's have a graduate program. And the religious reason was because of they didn't have to come out with a lot of money up front. So those were the main considerations at that time.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, I can tell you in my experience, right, we've sort of had to live with that constraint. Okay. And one of the things that religious exemption constraint does for Hindu University of America is it doesn't allow us to offer any programs that are supposedly meant for secular
yes,
employment and secular degrees, secular opportunities, etc., etc. So the debate in the board has always been, at least if you look at the Christian world, for example, where they have lots of Christian seminaries and divinity schools and so on, when somebody graduates from these seminaries with an MDiv degree, Master of Divinity degree, or a Doctor of Theology degree,
yes,
there was a very ready, available Christian ecosystem in which they could be absorbed
provide
into
job. Yes,
useful, productive, responsible jobs and
Chaplin
careers and so on. And, one of the great challenges that our community faces is that we don't have a mature ecosystem which can employ people who get a degree in Hindu studies, for example, or Sanskrit for that matter. And so this creates a constant angst in terms of, is this university ultimately viable, or is it sustainable, as a Hindu religious university, or does it have to branch out into secular domains and offer career enhancing, career defining programs of study and so on and so forth. I mean, this is one of the challenges that is, I would say, it is an existential challenge for the university that has not gone down, and it keeps coming up almost every year in every board meeting. This rears its head once again. Okay, so I'll just stop here and let's.
Yeah. So when it was decided to have it as a religious university, the only constraint, if I remember correctly, put on was that your degree you offer must have a religious modifier.
Yeah.
That you cannot give a PhD, but you can give a doctorate in Hindu philosophy, for example. So the abbreviation should be appropriately that. You cannot have a PhD like that. So that was the main restriction they had put in, that the degree you offer must have a religious modifier.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Abhinav-ji,
But they did not at that time put any constraint on what kind of courses can you teach. In fact, we had after a few years, we had hired a consultant who was developing equivalent to MBA program with this religious modifier. In fact, he had almost developed the whole program. So it will be like an MBA program, but with some courses of Hinduism built into the whole MBA curriculum. And that was okay at that time. So maybe things have changed later on, where these more constraints are being put in.
Yeah. Okay.
Could be.
All right. So let's move on. Let's Abhinavji, thank you so much for the sort of the historical reconstruction of what and how HUA came into being. Jay Bansalji heads up the education division or education track at the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America today. So, Jayji, over to you. You had a ringside view of the last several years of progress at HUA, and
Indeed.
I wonder how you all look at it. I mean, VHPA was at the very beginning, was an incubator for this university. And what's the discussion going on within the VHPA community today regarding this university and so on? So over to you, Jay Bansalji.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kalanji. And it's really a privilege to listen to Abhinavji and for him to fill in all the gaps that in my knowledge about the history of HUA from during those formative years and beyond. So I just wanted to take you back to the formation of VHPA itself. And recently I had and talk a little bit about how its mission and what it wants to do ultimately led to the formation of HUA. So just take yourself back to 1970. Here we have the first generation of Hindu Americans. These are graduate students coming from India with either an engineering degree or some degree in science, and they're doing graduate work here. People like me, I came in 68. Dr. Mahesh Mehta came probably a year before me. He's a I think polymer scientist. He was doing PhD in polymer science, and in 1970. 2 or 3 years after him landing here, he thinks of what the next generation is going to need. This is actually an amazing, just the very thought is actually very inspiring and amazing to me. So, him and a number of his colleagues got together and said, hey, we need to form an institution that will try to impart the cultural and religious aspects and civilizational aspects of Hindu Dharma into the Hindu diaspora that's going to come here and grow. So 1970, VHPA is formed. And 1973, I think they got their the 501c3 status and tax-free status. And 1974, the first Bal Vihar is established. And I had the privilege of actually writing, putting together the 55-year history of this organization, VHPA. By the way, my own association with VHPA is only about 11, 12 years old. So I had a lot to learn. And I'm glad I had a number of really good teachers who had good history with the organization to help me out. But anyway, trying to put together that 55-year history was actually an eye-opening event for me because the amazing things were happening through VHPA during all these years. 1979, a big conference is held, and a number of conferences where we're talking about, how we're going to be able to accomplish this mission of keeping Hindus in a society where we're very small in numbers and not all terribly knowledgeable about our civilization, about our culture. Yes, we practice them at home in our families and all that, but we can't always articulate them too well. So all these ideas and all these needs that the pioneers of VHPA naturally developed and naturally articulated, I think ultimately led to the thought of creating an institution like Hindu University of America, and obviously the great visionaries like Swami Tilakji and of course Abhinavji and a number of their collaborators have done a wonderful job of putting the roots down and creating this institution. One of the things I just want to mention also. VHPA is an organization that has created many, many different concepts, many, many different institutions and organizations, but they do not necessarily like to hold them in their fold. You know, if an institution or organization can, you know, grow and get itself, you know, and establish itself on its own beyond a certain point, they are very happy to let them go. And you know, HUA is a great example. We have Hindu Student Council that ultimately now present in, I think, more than 150 campuses on,
Yes.
you know, in various places. Ekal Vidyalaya, not very many people know that Ekal Vidyalaya was
Yes.
started with VHPA. So the point is that VHPA is one of the unique organization that creates ideas, incubates it to a point, you know, and you know, gives it enough, you know, nourishment to let it grow to a certain point, and then if it can grow bigger in its own space, I'm very happy to let it go. So that is just a little bit of, and I don't want to belabor, you know, all the years where VHPA has done, you know, some of these wonderful things that Ankurji already talked about, at least name them. So let me just come back to the gist of your question. So yes, you know, my responsibilities within VHPA are Shiksha Vibhag, or the education aspects of it. And I don't actually, you know, look after the Bal Vihar part of it, or the youth camp, which are also part of, you know, our education offering. I really look at the civilizational aspects. So, you know, what are civilization values? What are civilization accomplishments, and how they have been distorted over the 1,200 years that we were under foreign rule and you know, under colonization, and then how we can recover it. So that's where, you know, I have been spending my energies, and quite frankly, it's you know, it's a big task, and I think you know, we have a natural collaboration with HUA in that area, because A, it's a big task, and B, it can be tackled from so many different perspectives. You know, Ankurji mentioned Stop Hindu Dvesha as one of the initiatives. And actually, Kalyanji, you and I, as you remember, you and I started it together. And of course, then you had other responsibilities. So I kind of carried the ball for the last few years. But we talk about these very issues today. You know, we publish articles, we have webinars, conferences, where we have collaborated with you, with HUA. But the HUA aspect of it, how it all kind of works together, is where you get, you know, HUA gets deeper into these issues. What are the root causes? Why people are doing what they're doing, and how we can retrieve our civilizational values, how we can impart them to the current generation. So I think it is a natural alliance. We just work in slightly different spaces, but at the end of the day, it's all working towards the same mission. I'm not sure if I answered your question totally, but hopefully got to some level there.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to make a little comment on
please.
the beginning of VHPA, because this is what I heard from Dr. Mahesh Mehta himself. When, you know, as he said, Mahesh Bhai came in around 1967 to USA.
Right.
And then I think in one of his trips back, he met Guruji again, you know, saying that I'm now here and so on. I like to start something. Give me some permission to start a Sangh branch there. And after a lot of discussion, Guruji advised that don't start Sangh. Start Vishwa Hindu Parishad branch. That's how it became a Vishwa. Otherwise, Mahesh Bhai was always associated with the Sangh when he was in India. All his training and upbringing was in the Sangh. So that's the only thing he knew. But then Guruji said, no, start Vishwa Hindu Parishad. That will be more appropriate for that United States Hindus as they are coming into students and so on.
Sure.
So that's how Vishwa Hindu Parishad was formed. That's just a little thing that I heard from Mahesh Bhai.
Great. Kalanji, let me just add a little bit. Hopefully, that'll fill in the answer that I was trying to get at. So HUA is, I mean, I'm familiar with HUA because we've been, working together on so many different projects. I had the opportunity, or actually, you offered the opportunity for me to take a course in Hindu, actually orientation to Hindu studies. I think this is interesting because, I'm sitting here. I said, I'm a practicing Hindu. I'm part of VHPA, which is supposed to be a very, dedicated Hindu organization. What exactly am I going to learn from a course, a formal course, a 10-week course in, Introduction to Hindu Studies? But since you're so persistent, I said, well, let me just sign up and see what I get out of it. And I have to tell, this is really coming from the heart. From the very first lecture, from the very first session, I realized I did not know. Beyond the ABC of Hindu Dharma, I did not really know about how Hindu Dharma is perceived by others, for example, and how the Hindu Dharma itself should be, what the discourse should be, how the discourse should be held, and how the narrative should be built. And over the next 10 sessions, I have to say I was in a different place in my own journey. So thank you for being persistent with me, and hopefully that gives our audience some perspective on what this institution, this great institution that you're leading is really helping Hindus to understand themselves and their culture.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I'm very grateful for both of your summarization of the relationship between VHPA and HUA. Now, I will speak a little bit now about our challenges, the challenges facing Hindu University of America, and I think the most important challenge that I would highlight is that while the uh, the diaspora has grown, I mean, if Abhinavji, you would have easily recognized that the size of the Hindu community in America, if you compare to what it was in the 1970s, 1980s, and what it is today, it's a substantially higher and bigger community. And therefore, if I had anticipated that the amount of interest coming into the university, both from prospective students who wanted to take courses and understand their dharma, reconnect with their roots, and so on, as well as support from prospective donors who are willing to support this university and ensure that it grows into a substantive, reputable, respectable, accredited institution of higher learning in the US. If I had anticipated there would be more support, would be an interest forthcoming, I cannot be faulted for that. But I must say, that it has not been as high as I had thought it would be. And there seems to be some barrier within the Hindu community for actually, getting interested, taking courses, learning about our dharma a part of their everyday life, and for all the different ways it can contribute to enhancing their lives. I mean, our lives essentially, and enhancing the lives of our future generations. It's been a bit of a struggle, getting enough participation in the courses and programs at HUA. And I just want to pause there, and I'm saying it like it's a challenge, ongoing challenge. We have to keep meeting it. But I want to hear your thoughts on What you think from based on your experience in this regard? Yeah.
This has been a challenge from the beginning,
From the
Kalyanji.
beginning, yeah.
Yes. And one of the things we found that what Bansalji mentioned that, oh, what do I have to learn about Hindu University or Hinduism, right? I know enough about it. But once you take the course, then you find out that you don't know a whole lot of things about it.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset of most of the Hindus in America. Oh, I know enough about it. I know.
Yeah.
I do my prayers. I do this. I go to temple. That's it. And they probably do it. But then that doesn't mean they know enough about Hinduism, Hindu culture, Hindu history, the contributors, the philosophical thoughts behind it. They don't have much idea about it. And that's one of the biggest psychological block. The second thing is, most of us are sort of trained or right from the beginning, or you give a little donation to this organization and you're doing your work. That's how our competition has been most of the time. Temples and other religious institutions and other guru-based institutions where people give donation to them, but they are very hesitant to give it to Hindu University because it's not guru-based. And that was a conscious decision made right at the beginning of the formation of university, that we will not be headed by one particular guru or a sampradaya because it will limit its scope. So it was a deliberate decision that yes, we will have difficulty, but then it allows you to do a lot of other things which a sampradaya will not allow you to do. So those are some of the things which have been from the beginning. And I think just having larger diaspora doesn't mean mindset has changed. Right now, there are a lot more competing organizations for resources. So many temples and so many organizations and other things, they compete for the same resources.
Sure.
So yes, the challenge is going to be uphill and going to be continued for a while.
Yeah. So if I could add a slightly different perspective to it, I think that's certainly an important aspect of it. But if you just think of the way we grew up, our own traditions, mostly we absorb our values, whether it's dharmic values, religious values, whether they are spiritual and whatever have you, through osmosis in the family or from the society. The tradition of sending our children to a Sunday school or to a religious classes has not been part of the Hindu family system, except in very limited families, right? That kind of tradition is in other communities, whether it's Christianity or Islam, but it is not part of. So it's not natural for Hindu families to say my child must go to a Sunday school equivalent, and also, I mean. So I think that's an important aspect of it that we need to keep in mind. Now, the problem is that we're not in Bharat, where we are 78 or 80%. We are a very small minority here, and the challenges here are different than they were in Bharat. But we have not grown up to understand those challenges yet. We're not just thinking of those challenges because we're supposed to be able to defend. Our dharma is attacked from various various places, whether it's academia, whether it's social media, with the whole story there, and we at the individual level should be sufficiently knowledgeable to be able to answer issues about our dharma in a cogent way. And we're not equipped with that, but we haven't understood that there is that need, and we should be really buttressing our foundation in our dharmic traditions. So that need somehow will slow. I think it'll grow slowly, but it's not totally there. That's one part of it. The other part is the natural inquisitors are going to be a relatively small percent, fraction of the total population. Ultimately, it has to be the whatever the education, the skills and knowledge that you try to impart has to be employable. I think that's the conundrum that you're dealing with, your board is dealing with on a daily basis, as you know. So somehow until it becomes, you know, you can turn it into a profession, into, the scope is going to be, frankly limited.
Yeah. So in that regard, right? I think one move we have made in the last
Mhm.
year is that we have intentionally gone out and acquired a college, a California College of Ayurveda,
Mhm.
and even though Ayurveda in the US is not a mainstream discipline of medical practice, at least
Mhm.
not recognized. It's not accredited. It's not licensed. It's not reimbursed. I mean, it's just not. It exists in the margins.
Sure.
At the same time, there is an increasing demand for Ayurvedic remedies and treatments and practices. And a lot of people are beginning to practice Ayurvedic. You know, kind of become health counselors and practice, even charge for it. And
Mhm.
California College of Ayurveda has graduated more than 3,000 students with certificates in the last
Mhm.
30 some years. It was founded in 1995, and it's now part of Hindu University of America, which is a big step for HUA's growth.
Sure.
And that was one move in the direction of enabling, at least in the domain of Ayurveda, some kind of career opportunities for people who graduate with certificates and so on.
Right.
And I hope that yoga will also feature very prominently in the Hindu University of America. Um, you know, uh, and we are looking at what else we can do within the constraints of the swim lane in which we are placed by the Florida Department of Education and the
Mhm.
decisions made way back in 1993, 89 and 93 and so on. And this is a problem I hope that we will continue to address. But JG, just coming back to another question here, right? See, just as the churches, the divinity schools and theological seminaries and so on,
Right.
they have a ready ecosystem for absorbing people who have graduated with degrees and certificates and doctoral degrees and master's degrees and so on. The next stage of evolution of the Hindu community in the US, in North America particularly, I think ought to be in the direction of generating some form of demand for these people who are knowledgeable, who have worked hard, spent a lot of money, and acquired a master's degree or a doctoral degree, and maybe they can find pathways of reasonably respectable employment in various Hindu organizations, mandirs. It could be in the realm of chaplaincy, it could be in the realm of counseling and therapy, it could be in the realm of simply more contemporary priests. It could be in providing varieties of services as yoga teachers, Ayurveda teachers, even in management, mediation services, and so on. So, um, what are your thoughts in the prospects of such an evolution of the Hindu community in North America going
Mhm.
forward? I know we focused tremendously on building very traditional temples that more or less replicate the way Hindu temples are in India. We have been able to replicate. There's more than 1,000 temples in North
Yeah.
America now, but they're
Yeah.
still very constrained in terms of what services they offer, what opportunities they make available to the community. So I just wanted to ask
Sure.
you, from the thinking of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, maybe
Sure.
from your experience. What do you think the future holds in this regard?
Yeah, it's a very complex equation, as you know, and we have created institutions where that kind of discussion should and can, and do take place. Hindu Mandir Empowerment Council is, for example, an institution where these kind of discussions are taking place. Uh, but you see, it's like turning a big ship. It takes quite a while to for them to really absorb understand the need and react to to fulfill that need. So it's not a short term answer. Chaplaincy, yes, chaplaincy is something that I think is very important, where Hindu diaspora has been missing a trick, quite honestly. We need to be focusing more, and I think I love to have that offline discussion with you as to how we can actually create a formal program. And VHPA certainly is very interested in creating opportunities for our own people to be in these spaces. So yes, that's a discussion that should take place. But two questions. Well, first of all, uh, is it almost given that you have to continue to swim in that very narrow lane for some time to come, or are there ways to broaden that lane?
That's a fantastic question. Okay, and clearly, the we are exploring, and there is a lot of, I can say, pressure within the board also to accelerate the path towards transitioning from being a strictly Hindu religious university to maybe being a broader secular mainstream university with a Hindu seminary that's part of it, but
Right.
it's not the whole of it, right? I mean, that is the configuration that almost everybody seems to aspire towards, right? Now, just like when Harvard was first formed in the US, it was Harvard College, and it had
Right.
only Christianity to offer,
Yeah.
biblical studies and Christian theology and Christian liturgy and Christian, ethics, and everything was Christian in the early days, right? And when the transition happened from being a purely Christian institution to a broader secular institution, what used to be Harvard College became Harvard Divinity School.
Right.
And that happened. There was a 200-year gap between the founding of Harvard College and it transforming into Harvard Divinity School. That was 200 years. That's a long time, okay? Now, as soon as Harvard University came about, then there were other schools: Harvard Business School, Harvard Medical School, Harvard law school, and so on. And you know how it is. Harvard is such a magnificent institution with a $50+ billion endowment. So this exact transition that Harvard experienced, I mean, you can talk about Princeton. Princeton went through the same thing when it was
Yes.
first founded.
Absolutely.
It was a Presbyterian seminary, and it was called Princeton Theological Seminary. And that was
Exactly.
the only institution. And it was 100 years later, 150 years later, that Princeton University came into existence. And it continues to house within Princeton University this Princeton Theological Seminary.
Right.
So this particular transition, uh, I think, must happen,
It must happen.
and it must happen hopefully sooner than later. Okay, sooner than later. But it's there are certain challenges with it happening. Okay, so um, the critical question we are grappling with is: do we first transition it and then get accredited, or do we get first accredited as as a theological school and then pursue the transition? So
Right.
this is a very active conversation, active investigation going on, and I believe we are moving in the generally in the right direction. Okay,
Right.
but it may be a few years before this happens, and and we hope that one of the key ingredients that can enable this is obviously, without question, the support of first generation Hindus who've done very well in America and who are in the throes of handing the reins off to the next generation. They should come to the support of Hindu University of America in much larger numbers than they have till date, so that they can also give the university a big lift in terms of fulfilling its aspirations going forward. I mean, that's an important ingredient to the whole process as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Kalyanji. I think there are, obviously brilliant minds in your board who can, who can help strategize how to go from here to there. That's something that, that's not part of my skill set, but what I can tell you is the need very much is there to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, and my organization, I can tell you, will be with you shoulder to shoulder when you decide how to get there, because we see a great need for having what you call a sort of a secularized education, a skill set that can be that can be easily marketed in this space. Yes, Hindu studies has to be part of it, which it should be. That is the reason why we exist as organizations, but it must be marketable at the end of the day. And it is my belief, I'll state it without proof, that when you have a good product that is that people want to buy, I think there'll be supporters who'll definitely open their pockets. So it's all about right now. I mean, it's presented as a more or less as a boutique institution where that imparts a certain aspects of our spiritual knowledge and civilization knowledge and so on and so forth. Once it broadens its horizons, I think you'll find supporters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll also add that even within the swim lane, okay, where we are in the Hindu religious studies, religious dimension, space, which we are where we are in, we still have a lot of opportunities for development. Okay, and we do want a school of yoga studies to be added. We have a College of Ayurveda, California College of Ayurveda. We want a school or College of Yoga Studies to be developed. We absolutely want a school of performing arts, where we are able to bring together the extraordinarily rich culture, rich tradition of performing arts we have from from Bharat across so many different communities and styles and variations. We want to have a respectable place for that. And then, of course, I am personally very keen on developing a school for Arthashastra studies, which includes a lot of things such as governance and leadership, economic development, political science, a lot of things that that come under the space of Arthashastra. So like this, there's an opportunity for a school of education that deals with curricular standardization, certification of teachers, curriculum for Sunday schools, for evening schools, for temple curricula, for mainstream schools, K through 12 education in United States, and even curricula at undergraduate and graduate levels. So curricular, work in standardization and developing materials that are appropriately respectful of the Hindu culture and civilization is a tremendously important dimension. So, even as we aspire to branch off into other adjacent swim lanes, there's a lot of work to be done within our swim lane itself. And So I think the potential is enormous for the future. And of course, the constraint is always financial in all these matters. And if I could find the magical trick that will unlock the wallets of our of our
Yes.
extremely wealthy Hindus in America, this university will have a fantastic future going forward.
Well, I'm quite hopeful considering where we started way back in mid 80s and where we are today. It is a slow but a very substantial growth, particularly in the last 5-6 years. Substantial growth. We had lots of ups and downs in between before that. So I'm quite hopeful things will grow. Yes, the challenges are great, but I'm sure Hindu community is very intelligent, very supportive in some sense, and they'll come up with some solution. So it will help this institution grow. And with backbone like Vishwa Hindu Parishad and HSS, which provides a very broad outlook on various things, things will grow and things will sustain.
Yeah, but any final words before we close? Yeah.
Absolutely. I fully agree with Abhinavji's perspective. I think Hindu society, I think you need to make the case for action. You need to say this is the product, the product that we are offering today, HUA is offering today has a limited appeal to a certain set of individuals. Once that appeal is, we could broaden the appeal, I think the sport will come. And certainly, I can speak for my organization. We are very interested in expanding that, your scope, particularly to undergraduate studies. That can be easily employed. In fact, I mean, I like to see a continuum from the Bal Vihar into middle high school and then going into undergrad and graduate programs. But creating an undergraduate college level program where skills can be easily employed in the workplace. And it is my belief, we have a Hindu business network that certainly can be tapped to provide, the employment opportunities for the right kind of people, as long as they have the skills that they need. I mean, it's it's not just enough to talk about Hindu philosophy in a workplace. They need more than that.
All right, I think I'll hand it off to you, Ankur, to kind of conclude the webinar, if you will.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone joining. It's been a great pleasure and heartwarming to hear some of the history and the context of what we are building, right? This 1,000-year university that we are just a part of. And actually, let me share a little bit. I found an article. So this is, we also do have some, if I'm going to take some time to talk about some other opportunities and things going on at HUA and how you can get plugged in, we have a retreat, a Shastra immersion retreat at our campus in Pine Lake from December 11th to the 14th. We have Genius of Hindu Astronomy, Ganita Phalita Jyotisha retreat with Dr. Raj Vedam from December 11th to the 14th. But Koyaji, I came across this article right here. University Chief's Dharma leads to an unusual setting. Abhinavji, I see you're shaking your head. You probably know where this is going. You probably read this article, Tampa Bay Times, from 97, and they updated it.
Yeah.
Don't be intimidated if it sounds interesting. Most of our students have a very limited knowledge of Hinduism. We talked about this already. Dr. Khandelwal said. About 90% of Hindus don't understand exactly what Hinduism is. Being in a motel, it is odd when you think of the word university. And they go into the article, and it actually worked out for what they were using at that time or teaching at that time, kind of short sessions. But it has worked well for our purposes, said Deen Dayal Khandelwalji. He was then the chairman of the board of trustees.
Yeah.
Ideally, Khandelwal says, the university will be able to start courses year-round. It's just a matter of growing a little each year. certain things are meant to be. And this is my duty to start the school, Kandawal said. Whether it happens or not is not my concern, but I feel it will happen. And Kalyanji, I know you have made it your concern, and you have taken it up to make this university happen. And we are so glad that you have done this work and been the leader who's pushed it over the edge. And of course, the timing with technology and making online and just the opportunity of what VHPA has done with all these other initiatives, and Abhinavji traced it out, and the ups and downs and where we are now. It's just it's a beautiful time to be a part of this. And Kalyanji, thank you for being the leader who did pick it up as his duty. And there's a lot of us helping, supporting in our different ways. And if you can, let me just put in the chat. I think I did. The Friends of HUA. This is kind of our initiative that we're launching to get people to join HUA and support in whichever way you can, right? Enroll in a course, the Orientation to Hindu Studies course. Kalyanji's not teaching that this next quarter, but he's teaching the Varna Jati course. Let me just launch that quick. Poll is up. Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, while you're doing that, let me just, give my, deep appreciation to Kalyanji for, for really taking this university, this institution over is about 5 years, Kalyanji?
6.5 years now.
Six and a half years. Yeah, it feels like a lot longer actually, but but no, I mean it was not in a great place when you came on the scene, and I think I just kudos to you for doing the hard work to get to this point. And I think it's you build the foundation, and I just love to see this grow into a great institution that we can all be proud of.
And I think I would be missing a key piece to all this if I didn't acknowledge Puja Swami Dhanand Saraswati for his ongoing commitment to the development of this university. And it was in 2013 that I was in his ashram for 5 days, and he almost every morning, Swamiji and I would have breakfast together, and he would bring up Hindu University of America and its importance. He passed away in 2015. Like all these people, Swami Tilak passed away in the mid 80s.
Yes.
Dr. Mahesh Mehta is no more with us. Ram Prakash Agarwal is no more with us. So these were founders of this university. But Swamiji's insistence that I take up some role in reviving and revitalizing this university, which he was speaking about in 2013. It sprouted. It was in dormant seed form for 5 years, and it sprouted only in 2018 and 2019, around that time. So he's also a very important. He's been a part of this journey.
In several meetings with Swamiji, myself, Brahma Agarwalji, Mahesh Mehtaji, at least those three, he would insist that yes, it is right now an online university and so on, but you must build a campus, a full-fledged campus. He always insisted on that part. Obviously, he knew that there is a problem, resources and other things, but he thought that a university must have a concrete presence.
Yeah.
That creates a different image in the minds of people. So
sure.
that was his dream, to have a campus, proper campus of a university.
All right, Ankur, I think it's time to close.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste to all the people in the audience. Thank you. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Namaste. Pleasure.